Hello and welcome to India Ideas. I'm Gautam Roy. Well, this is the show which is all about science and tech, innovation, entrepreneurship, and of course, startups. And if you talk about the fintech space, which is, well, if you look at startups in general, the fintech space is a little more mature than others. But if you talk numbers, as far as adoption to fintech goes, the adoption rate in India is either the second highest or even maybe we've overtaken China over there already. We will talk about that with our panel as well because we have a stellar panel as far as the fintech space in the country is concerned. Today we have Arif Khan, Chief Digital Officer, National Payments Corporation of India, which is set up and is running a large part of the digital financial system, the entire architecture and what have you. We've also got Nithin Kamath, founder and CEO Zerodha, which is a zero brokerage e-trading platform, which has just won the Startup of the Year award from a renowned news organization in the country. And we have Kunal Jhunjhunwala, principal founder and MD AirPay, which is an omni-channel payments facilitator, allowing online payments across over 100 Indian and international instruments. Welcome to you all. Arif, just tell us, in terms of the startup ecosystem, especially in the fintech space, how do you see the NPCI's role? I know you guys are doing a lot, but just put it out for our viewers.
Thanks, Gautam, for having me on the show. So clearly, startups are very, very crucial and important to the ecosystem, right? And at NPCI, we really believe that they are the ones that are really going to help us. They are the messengers, right? Who are going to take digital to the next level and to the interiors of India. And there's something that I keep telling people within my team. I know many people keep asking us this question. What are we doing to foster startups? The way I like to put it, it's the startups that we learn from, right? So there are these young entrepreneurs, young guys and girls coming in with some great ideas, right? Some great services, value-added services that they think about, which they can experiment on our platform. Some deep tech that they bring to the table. So it's in a way, it's a mutual, working together. It helps us to, make sure that our platforms can scale and create the flexibility for the future of digital in the country. And at the same time, what we realize that a lot of these young people come with some great ideas, but they would not have the insight, maybe on the technology side or maybe on the regulation side. So engaging with them at different levels, formally, informally, is a continuous thing that happens in PCI. Just to share with you a few of the things that we do. So we have an API accelerator program where essentially what we have done is listed a lot of our services which is available. It's obviously all sandbox and allows these young developers and startups to come and experiment with that, right? And create some great experiences and all on that. It's not only about developers, but we kind of sit with them and try to walk through what would be the journey, what could be the potential, and where could their business model sit in, and also there is some kind of guidance that goes on. So this is a continuous program that we have. We don't not only have our APIs on them, but we've also managed to get a few banks, banks who are more fintech friendly to participate in that. There are some other fintechs who are listing their APIs with us. And as we go ahead, we want more and more institutes and organizations to get their APIs to us, right? So for example, the startups don't necessarily come with only payments as an idea. For example, if there could be someone in the space of, say, wealth, they would want access to a lot many more things just than payments, right? So they would want to, say, allow someone to book a mutual fund, give them some advisory. Hence, they need to, interact with multiple points, then do the payment leg. So what we're trying to do is create a platform where we can allow them to orchestrate and, in a simple way, create their prototypes and then take it to the market and all. So that's one thing that we've been focusing a lot on. And in PCI, we've always adopted the Helix principle when it comes to innovation, right? So there's a whole lot of hackathons that we participate, we plan, and we sponsor. We do something what we call ideathons. So what we found, there are a lot of these people coming out from young, technology institutes and so on, and MBA institutes, and they have this nice idea, but they do not have the access to technology. They do not have the ability right now to create a prototype. So it's a lot of thinking on paper and on PPTs, but we don't shy away from that. We kind of see, hey, how can we work? And how in bits and pieces we could help them work on that. So that's another thing that we keep doing. We keep having these grand challenges. And this again is a continuous process, right? It's not like a one-time thing. We engaged in this thing that we call Fintech Yatra, where we met around 150, 200 startups. The good part is a
Okay.
lot of these startups were not necessarily from urban. You typically associate startups with Kormangla, Bangalore, HSR.
Yes. Yeah, I know it's going all tier 2, tier 3. But just tell me, RBI has opened up the payments and settlement space, through multiple alternative payments corporation of India. Now, is that an added responsibility on your shoulders, or is that something that will only lead to competition for you guys and might not be so great for the years to come?
I think clearly, I think the challenge is getting more and more people in the digital fold, right? So I don't think so. It's a zero-sum game. I think there's a lot of headroom. So any kind of competition is welcome. And I was just offline chatting with my co-panelists, and it's like the Amazon and Flipkart effect, I think, would come into play. And if you look at the entire thing, how RBI has gone about it, and let's face it, RBI is a great visionary. They've actually kept interoperability as a key part, the key base of this entire thing. So I think interoperability will serve the larger society, and I think in the long run will also help us in a big way. So I think it's up for grabs.
Great.
Let's see how this goes.
Great. Nithin, I know that you guys are yourself doing a lot to foster startups. You have your own initiative. You're putting in, more beyond money. It's just a lot of effort as well. But the journey of Zerodha itself is quite inspiring. You never took on any other investors, and now you're a unicorn or a sunicorn. So that itself is a very inspiring story. So tell us about it a bit, with also what hurdles came along and how did you surmount them, particularly the current big chassis breaking hurdle of the pandemic.
Thanks, Gautam, for having me on this. The journey is long. I think an hour to explain it, but general context is that I used to trade the markets, and for almost 10, 12 years before Zerodha, and we saw that there's an opportunity to be a better brokerage firm than what we were having. So my younger brother was trading along with me, and he continued trading, and I thought I should give a shot at building a retail brokerage firm. The first few years, it started off trying to reduce the trading costs and be more transparent as a broker. From 2005, but the thing what happened was, by 2013, 14, we had a first competitor who was saying the same story as we were. And that's when we started working on our products, which is our in-house products. And we launched our in-house product in 2015, which is called Kite, which is a web and mobile platform. It did well. We also did a interesting thing in 2015 where we went zero brokerage on equity investing, which kind of got virality for the business. And then, demonetization and Aadhaar happened, which kind of opened the floodgates for us, because onboarding customers was one of the toughest problems, and Aadhaar made it now possible for you to onboard them online. What used to take 14 days, now it took 5 minutes. And so the real growth for the business actually started after, Aadhaar, people could use Aadhaar for onboarding. So this was 2016, 17. So we were at around, I think, 100,000 customers. We are at 35 lakh customers today. And we are the largest in the country by far. And I think what makes today what is the USP that we have is that we offer a better product at lower cost, and we also have done a couple of interesting things, which is we built maybe one of the largest education initiatives around capital markets in the world called Varsity, and we also like you just mentioned, we have this incubator fund through which we kind of work along with startups to build niche trading experiences to grow the capital market ecosystem in the country. And coming to the pandemic, I think we were one of the lucky few industries which has been positively impacted in this last pandemic, because people working from home maybe gave them all enough time to think about their finances, and they probably started investing and trading the markets more. So I think the entire broking and exchange business has gone up significantly in the last 6 months. Even at Zerodha itself, we were at around 2 million customers before in December. We are at almost 3.5 million customers now. So we've grown significantly in the last 6-7 months.
Sounds great. And, Kunal, what Nithin mentioned about Aadhaar, well, it's basically jam. And I believe that your business as well has a lot to do with JAM. In fact, it's helping realize the goal that JAM was really set up for.
Yeah, absolutely, Gautam. AirPay traditionally, when we formed it 8 years ago, was purely a payment aggregator. Essentially, we were helping large enterprises collect payments from their consumers, right? And come, March, when COVID hit us, we realized that, this was a direct, or this would directly impact our customers. So we changed gears and started thinking about what else can be done. And when we realized that the government is taking steps aggressively on providing capital or providing money to the lowest to the citizens at the bottom of the pyramid, which was a great initiative from them. But the problem was that these citizens were not able to get access to that capital in their hand. It was available in their bank account, but there was no way for them to consume it. Provided by NPCI and other banks provide banking services at the Kinara stores, are not comfortable with technology, or traditionally are not comfortable with walking into a bank or using an ATM, could go in and consume financial services, whether it was withdrawing money, sending money to a loved one in another part of the country that they otherwise could not meet because of the various travel restrictions. COVID insurance at sachet pricing of 20 rupees. So we were able to provide financial distribution of financial services to the citizens at the lowest bottom of the pyramid. Just to add to what we're doing is, we might not be incubating startups in the way NPCI or Nithin is doing, but every agent that we onboard is actually enhancing their revenue, right? Because
you're in the last mile connectivity space, and of course, financial inclusion is being fostered by you as well. And even a Kirana store, if it's a new one, is a startup. It may not be a tech startup, but it's still a startup. Now, as far as having an EI view is concerned, the NPCI RFU would have a good perspective of how things have been in the COVID space, especially for in the COVID era, especially for the fintech space. What can you tell us about how startups in fintech have been doing in the space, going by what NPCI has been seeing?
Yeah. So Gautam, I think initially, obviously, pandemic was and the strict lockdown that we have, obviously, it created a big challenge for a lot of startups, right? And not only startups, I think every community, every industry was impacted in one way or the other, whether it was the workforce disruption, work from home, delays, ambiguity. So there was so much happening over there. And obviously, we also saw that people were not stepping out, so transaction volumes were dropping, and so on and so forth. We saw a drop in volumes. We're seeing that the startups are coming back. We had seen peaks of roughly around 75 million transactions happening in a month, and it went as low as roughly around in the range of 22 million. But in the last 2-3 months, we've seen that coming back. So as we speak, it should be in the range of around 55 million odd transactions a month. Again, on the ATM side, volumes in August on the ATM are back to around 360 million odd transactions in a month. The ticket size has moved up a bit. And obviously, it's got to do with consumer behavior, right? Right in the start, no one was stepping out. If someone decided to step out of the house, then he said, yeah, if I'm going to the ATM, I might as well withdraw for 1 month rather than just 2 weeks, what he was doing earlier. So the ticket size went up, the transaction volumes went down. But now the transactions seem to be coming back. E-commerce actually were the fastest to come back, and obviously so. For various reasons, and again, e-commerce is almost near, near to the peak, if I may say so.
And Diwali will ensure that it might cross it.
Yeah, I'm quite confident. We are looking forward to that. Again, NEPC FASTag, that's the product that you use. That's the RFID sticker that you would have on your car when you cross highways and toll gets deducted. Clearly, with people not traveling and going from one interstate or so on. And, even in fact, the government also had suspended toll gates from charging. So obviously that was a sharp decline. But again, we see the volumes picking up on that. So all in all, the volumes are coming back in some space. As I mentioned, e-com, it's come back faster. we expect with unlock down happening, right? Unlock 3, unlock 4 happening in stages, I think the POS volumes will return. In all this, UPI has seen a phenomenal surge, right? So we have not only reached the earlier numbers, we've actually crossed it. So in August, we closed at around 1.6 billion financial transactions. And we see that upward trend picking up. Not only that, we are finding a lot of net new customers coming onto the digital platform, right? The ultimate test for me personally was like my father-in-law and my wife also now adopting digital payments, which I couldn't convince them. They're actually doing that. So I think there is a silver lining. And let's see how this goes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, Nithin, these numbers, of course, even your numbers, and you shared some of them as well, are very, very encouraging. But at the same time, we do have challenges in terms of what this phase has also thrown up is a huge challenge in the space of security, data security, cyber security as well. And there are other issues in terms of building trust, in terms of even disrupting the brick and mortar banks that could have an impact on businesses like yours. So, how do you factor in all these variables and then build a model for the business that will ensure that, you have consistent growth?
See, as a B2C company, I think we consider ourselves as a tech business who's incidentally doing broking, right? And the thing about stock market is it's not very easily predictable, in our business, user growth, because the user growth is also a function of how the underlying stock markets are doing. One of the reasons for this sudden rush of new customers this year has also been because the stock markets have done well. And after the fall in March, the markets have recovered, right? And that recovery is what has attracted people to the markets, right? I think the big focus for us is all the time is building a good product for a customer. A product our revenue comes from very active traders. So, we need to build a product which caters to very active traders. But most number of our users are almost like first-time users to the market. So we also need a product which is very simple. Now the first-time users also need education. So, which is, you need to kind of build learning within the ecosystem so people know what they're doing. You kind of handhold them into doing stuff. So as a product, you continuously need to, in India, is still, I think, in terms of financial education, literacy, etc., we are still way behind a lot of developed economies. So I think like I was saying earlier, the real problem to solve in this country is to expand the markets. Because, if we end up building the product again for the top 8-10 million Indians, I think that crowd is already, served enough, right? I think,
it's kind of saturated.
Yes, thankfully in our business, right, security isn't as big an issue as for a bank, because when there is money or securities lying in a trading and
I'll tell you what a friend of mine was saying. He was saying that when you log into Zerodha, it's simple to log in. You could bring in an OTP type of feature.
No, so we have a TOTP authenticator. So, see, the issue with a mobile OTP in a business like ours is that OTPs sometimes don't deliver on time. Right, like a SMS OTP, right? As in,
I know, yes.
Right, and stock markets are volatile. So imagine if markets falling and your OTP doesn't deliver and you're not able to log in, right?
Yeah, it's dependent on the network, the mobile network as well.
Absolutely, right. So we can't really, make it mandatory to have SMS OTP, but we have TOTP, which is you can have a Google Authenticator installed and use it as a TOTP. So that way you're not really relying on. No, but what I was coming to
let me bounce quickly to Kunal, because I just wanted to ask you, Kunal, in terms of what Nithin was saying about issues with the OTP network and all that. Now 4G penetration in the country is in the high 80s. That's the kind of number that we have, and of course we have millions and millions of smartphones, estimated 650 million, I believe. But tell me about your experience. I believe you've done good work in Punjab and Rajasthan. Rajasthan is a huge state. And I'm sure in a lot of areas, the network wouldn't be what one would expect it to be. So how do you surpass that challenge?
Yeah. So, infrastructure struggles exist. They're far better than what they were 10 years ago. with Geo and the other players improving their infrastructure, there is tremendous value that can be built. However, it's still spotty in certain parts, right? Today, me sitting in Bombay in my house, I have within my office, I have network in one corner and no network in the other corner, right? And that's just reality that we need to live with. It's just a question of how do you build redundancy within your technology to enable it. So whether it's OTP, whether it's sending a voice confirmation if that delivery doesn't happen, or using alternative static or dynamic keys that are preloaded onto the device. There are various ways we're tackling this, but it's a real problem. It's a real problem. It's not as large enough as it used to be. So I would not call it
Okay.
eliminated, but I would say we're 95% there, without a doubt.
Arif, what are your thoughts on this particular proposition that things have improved a lot as far as connectivity is concerned, and other things that are required to, power businesses like Nithin's and Kunal, but there's still a lot of more scope to do it. For example, smartphones, they have become cheaper, but for it to, be in every hand, perhaps a smartphone needs to cost not more than 200 rupees.
So, our engagement with the community and startups, I think the smartphone prices will continue to fall, maybe not as steeply as they did in the last couple of years, but they would continue to. But having said that, I think, yes, we have some infrastructure challenges in terms of, the network is yet patchy, and the example Kunal was giving earlier. And we've realized that, right? And so one of the things, and that should be coming soon, and hopefully...
While we speak, Nithin's iPad is on the blink again.
Wow.
Anyway,
So,
go ahead.
maybe it's good news for you, Kunal. We are actually working on a solution where you could serve UPI without a smartphone, so on a feature phone. There's a large part of India who's yet on a feature phone. So we've actually, it's in the garage right now. It should be out very soon. So your IVR-based solution or a missed call service could happen over there. So that's clearly where we believe we can build more traction. We are trying to make sure that some of the transactions, the way they work, they become a little more lighter. So the network and bandwidth can support it, and so on and so forth. We're exploring a couple of other options to what Nithin mentioned about OTP and its related challenges. So we're trying to work on other methods of authentication. See, you need to understand that from a country, of India, where you have so many different segments and society, I think security needs to be we need to be extremely cautious about that. How do we educate people? How do we get them to use their devices in a very secure way? And that's where Aadhaar comes in a big way, right? So we are trying to explore some more, some more solutions where we can make it convenient for these people to access all our services. At the same time, keep the security or move the security up a notch. So that's where some of these solutions will come into play. I think it's a matter of time, and people like Kunal and his entity could really start experimenting and build solutions on that.
Kunal, what do you have to say about that? I believe that there is something happening on the MSME front as well that you guys are doing, which has to do with not just making payments available quickly, also perhaps credit.
Yes. So we're working with, so credit has traditionally been the domain of banks, right? And providing credit the last mile. And then the NBFCs came in over the last few years and said, we'll provide credit to everybody that comes in. The problem still is reach and authentic validation, not just of dispersing, but also of collections. So we're using SME relationships or our agent network, not only to validate and collect documentation, but also collect payments or bring back the capital back to the NBFC, right? And try and use their social engagements, right? Because a retailer or a Kinara shop knows everybody in that vicinity, in a sense. He's the perfect individual who understands who's at whose house or what food is being, who's ordering what items. So using that intelligence, can we provide better underwriting to the NBFCs and hence provide better credit capabilities? We're bringing all that together and trying to bundle it into a service. From what Arif has said, the build out that they're doing on the non-data-led UPI transactions it's absolutely incredible if that comes out. I mean, then you're talking about going completely to a different segment of the market. I mean, you would then be talking about doing, in a week's time, what NPCI has so far done in UPI in a month, I'm assuming. So it'd be absolutely
Gautam,
Okay, great.
if you allow me, I've got
Yes,
some more
please.
news for Kunal. You know, if you've been following
Acha.
the Niti Aayog and their tweets, see,
Uh-huh.
obviously, we all understand the critical. See, look, we have the digital payment exhaust, and that fuels credit. You know, because you could do so much of based on the data, etc. You could do so much underwriting and so on and so forth. But I think the missing link somewhere in all this was how do you do the collections, and I believe we've solved part of it with AutoPay. We'll build on it. But there's another part, right, which has got to do with the ability to orchestrate online. And I think Nithin touched about it, you know, in an experience which is real time. So we are trying to see how, you know, KYC and government and a lot of entities are trying to figure out how could we solve for that KYC challenge. So you could do real time
Okay,
orchestration.
great.
And I think once that comes in, it's
Great.
going to take some time, but I think once something like that happens, it's going to be really great for the ecosystem.
Okay, Nithin's been patient. So last question to Nithin. Nithin, now you guys have become what you have become without taking any money from anyone else. No investors, no VC, nothing. But some would say that A, you need to share your wealth the way you're growing, and B, that if you want to do other things like say foster startups, you need money for that. And one good way will be to bring in other people on board or even an IPO at some stage. So are you completely ruling those possibilities out, or right now you're saying you're not open to it?
Firstly, share wealth with VCs and Ps. I mean, that's a joke, right? I mean, they're the richest in the world. So, I mean,
People want to. I mean, have their own aspirations.
I mean, 1% of the world already controls 99% of the wealth. So, and VCs and Ps get funded by them, right? No, but no, that apart, like I said, you know, we had a really generous ESOP program in the office. You know, so everyone in the company holds some stake in the business. So, you know, there are distribution of wealth happening there. You know, IPO, the thing is, one of the edge that we have as a business today is that, you know, we're very nimble in the way we work. And the reason we are nimble is because of the organizational structure. And the structure as a business is something where we're not chasing growth, right? There's we're never chasing revenue growth, or we're not chasing user growth, right? I mean, we're always chasing saying, can we build a better product, right? And as soon as you get investors in, you know, investors now look for monetary returns on their investment, right? So now you have to rewire your business from caring mostly about product to also now caring for user and revenue growth, right? And you know, you end up losing some of the nimbleness you have as a business when you do this. And you know, in today's world, I think it's no more about the big beating the small. It's about the fast beating the slow, right? And we are trying to see how we can best stay as fast as possible as a business. And IPO maybe sometime in the future, but not really right now.
I hope that all of you contribute in the manner that you have and much more to not just grow the fintech startup ecosystem, but you know, take the India story forward. We talk about a new India, a digital India, an India which is you know, somewhere where we perhaps never even imagined it to be. And you're part of that process. So all the more power to you, and thank you so much for joining us here on India Ideas.